Yeah, I'd say the approach to learning, because you have the traditional point of view where how we see it is go through school, study hard, get a job, live a nice, stable life. Then now you come to the actual realization that that may be wrong.
Hello, so today I have Mboya Michael joining me from Kenya, and he is the CTO of Wequal Group, and you've been with us for a while now. And so the first question is, tell us about yourself. What is your passion?
Yeah. So yeah, as said, I am Michael Mboya, the CTO of Vehicle Group, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. That's in Africa, east side. So as far as my passion goes, would mostly be learning, because I'd say I'm a very curious individual, which I think really ties into Vehicle really nicely. So I was lucky on that aspect. So I get to be in a place where there's this lots of information. And now the challenge becomes on whether there's enough time to learn everything. Yeah, but working on that.
Yeah. I mean, well, when do you think you started trying to, you got more into learning and that was more of your passion? Because usually not everybody is super interested in learning. So would you say that that's been something about you your whole life, or something that's developed
I
recently?
think it developed with time. A large part of it is also how I was raised. My dad really liked to give me we first started with the small children's books to read, then progressed on to the larger ones and so on. So I remember the first times where I'd have a 20-page book and think that is so long. This feels like torture. But yeah, with time we just start to enjoy doing so. And now you start searching for other sources to read. And I think that was a huge part of the curiosity aspect, because you now start wondering, how do things work in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Why are things the way they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
developed from.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was actually wondering, did you say that you found out about Wequal through Twitter?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Actually a combination of two things. There was Twitter and the interview with PK,
Oh
because
yeah.
at first I saw the notification for the interview, then put it on my watch later list. Then I go on Twitter, everyone's making rounds about this awesome tutor who's teaching better than most university lecturers. So yeah, that's where I learned about Wiki from. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Watching the teacher with glasses on this car.
I remember we were saying, we just put on our website that we were hiring Flutter developers, and I don't know, maybe my dad was, but I certainly was not expecting for someone to actually apply. Like, we didn't have an application system. We were just
Yeah.
like, we're hiring. You can figure it out if you really want the job. And then you sent in an email, and then I don't know, I was a little bit like, that was the first time that I was just gonna like go on a Zoom call with someone that I had never met before. I'm just like, is it gonna be some creepy guy? I don't know what's gonna happen. And yeah, that was, but it was really great. I mean, I think that we just kind of approached the whole hiring process really differently, and that was kind of,
Extremely. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this is also we did a whole lot of startups before this, but this is before you, it was just like Way was the only person that we had really hired. So it was also kind of a new experience for us as well, like hiring people and just like getting on a Zoom call with
Okay.
someone new.
Okay. From the call, I wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, but it was an interesting experience, because also, one thing that was very different from how other companies approach it is many companies, at least the case in Kenya, really focus on degrees instead of what people can really offer. So yeah, I think just the approach where you give someone the chance, you first meet the person, you can get the kind of vibes you get as working with a team. That's a revolutionary idea in my mind.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so we called it the sink or swim program, kind of just because our approach is really different, and the kind of environment that we have is where you need to take a lot of initiative, have your own ideas, and go and like kind of socializing it, but then implementing it on your own alongside other people who are working on what they're working on, and so
Right.
it's very like, what do you think led into you being able to thrive so well in this environment and in the kind of the structure that we have for collaboration?
Yeah, I think first it really ties in well to a curious personality, because it's not the typical kind of case where you have a boss who tells you you are working on this, and this, and you want it on Friday. It's more like, first, what do you think we can add to this? So there's that, you're curious on what would really work well, and you're allowed to voice it also in a way and get the feedback from others. Then you also have the case where once you've said what you think can work, you also can choose what you want to work on. So you're basically enjoying the job, which, yeah, I think it's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. Do you see yourself as an innovator, and if so, why?
Yes, I see myself as both an innovator and a tinkerer in a sense, just because I do like creating things. And to be able to create it, first, sometimes you have something that's completely new from scratch. Sometimes you're discovering new ways of using other things. And the innovation comes when these discoveries that you're doing are providing value to others. So yeah, I think I tend to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Because I actually don't really know, like, what would you say was your skill level with Flutter when you first came into the WeCollab team?
I'd call it intermediate in a way, because I knew how generally widgets work. I think I would pass your certification, your basic certification. Yeah. But I was still new to some concepts such as testing and architecture in general. So those are things I came to learn now once I've already joined Wickwell.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely see kind of like when we have our the team meetings, it's kind of like a just a place where people can just share ideas, and that's like, and then the people who I mean, a lot of the time when people first join, we can tell
Yeah.
whether or not they're really going to be good for us by whether or not they're like throwing out their own ideas and trying to
Yeah.
figure out a place where they can fit into to the team. Yeah. So, what are the skills you wish you learned when you were young?
Um, I'd say quite a number, which don't necessarily only apply when I'm young. Even right now, it's things I'm learning here and so on. So I think younger, I'd have learned to be more vocal, because that's something that I grew into. But I was much of an introvert, so I'd really prefer to stay indoors with either my books or my laptop. Um, I think just being able to voice such ideas is a really powerful feature that would have been helpful even from back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What is some advice you would like to give to students and members at Wequel wanting to get into Flutter development or potentially join like the Wequel startups or Wequel app team to help build out Flutter applications?
Yeah. I'd give a number. Um, First, when you're starting something new, you're going to suck at it. That would be normal, that is expected, but that's not where you stop. So one of the things I actually like about the values that Wequel provides is what they call iterative development, where you first start with an MVP. It might not have all the features that you want. It's not the exact thing that you want, but you put out there. And then from there, you can now improve upon it and make it better. The reason that is so powerful is if you wait until you have the perfect product, one, you'll never learn because you'll never have something, you'll never produce anything, for example. Two, for any project that lasts a significant amount of time, your ideas, say 3 months later, will be very different from what you had at the start. And 3 months after that, it's very different. So if you're always waiting to have the perfect solution, you'll always be changing the idea, but never really releasing. So I'd say the first step is you're going to suck, but still just get it out there, get it done, then you'll improve. Secondly, do not be afraid to teach. I think this also ties in well to how Wicklow does it because it's student-led in a way. But yeah, you don't have to be an expert at a subject to start teaching it, because teaching is also how you become an expert in the first place. So I'd say be willing to share those ideas, be willing to share what you think, how it works. If it's wrong, the worst thing that can happen is you'll be corrected and get the correct way. The biggest mistake that you can make is believe in something even though it's wrong and not have a way of verifying that it's wrong. So you think that it's right, yet yeah, it can be very terribly wrong.
Yeah, I mean the way that you find out is by sharing it with people and then
Yeah.
telling you I don't like this. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. And also, one of the most powerful things about having people who are new to a topic try to explain things, sometimes that's how knowledge is created even for people in the know, because a beginner can have a completely new way of doing something that no one had thought of that is actually really, really nice.
Yeah. I did find that kind of helpful when I just randomly decided like I'm going to compose my own song too because Isla did it and it seems cool. And I mean, I took piano lessons when I was younger. I did take a lot of piano lessons, but I never had anyone like talk to me uh about anything like when it came to composing music. I was just like doing my thing, and then whatever sounded good. I mean, what you're trying to do is make something that sounds good, right? So that should just that was what I was working off of, and then how it seemed to work out. Yeah. But how did you find out about Flutter and what got you into programming?
Okay. For programming, when I was much younger, I had a natural interest to computers. I started more with playing games. Then from there, my first interaction with computers, we didn't really have internet. So it was just playing games. Then my dad noticed I really like staying on the computer. Maybe I can sometimes help show him how some things work. I was his first tutor on Microsoft Word and really took that to pride. After that, I went to school. In school, we didn't really have much of an interaction with the computers. It would be more of learning the very basics. This is a monitor. This is a a keyboard, you type it and you see words on the screen. Magic. Yeah. But yeah, as a small kid, I was rather blown away at the time. I also noticed I could type a lot faster than most of the people I was with. So that was a bragging point at the time. Not really a helpful skill, but I could brag about it. So after a natural progression, I went to starting to wonder how exactly it works. So I'd be told that it reads zeros and ones, but I couldn't see the zeros and ones. So I wondered, how on earth is this possible?
Yeah.
So going to high school, I got to read about some of uh, the history of programming. So some of the languages that aren't really used nowadays, such as Pascal. But now at that point, it was actually the funniest part because I'm reading what it's supposed to do. I'm writing the code on paper and I'm hoping that is correct because I had no way of verifying at least. Then I come to university where now I started learning a bit of programming, but it was so much the basics, it was difficult to tell how it's helpful. Because in an entire semester, we'd finish, and what I really knew was how to write a while loop and a for loop. I couldn't see how these numbers come into the wonderful things I see on screen. Then we go to another semester where we start learning how to create apps with Java. Then I think by then, um, the rate of school there's a really high emphasis on theory, but not really what I'd call the most helpful theory. Because for example, learn the history of how Java was made, not on a technical point of view, just about Alan Kay and the guys who sat, thought, and so on, how Oracle came up, and so on and so forth. Then, yeah, we'd still also get to learn about programming, but it's not really something that I could, for example, come to Wikil and say I'm a Java developer, unless maybe you just wanted a counter app. There'd be a guy, but nothing else. So while there, I now have more access to the internet. I search through Google approaches, then I get to hear about Flutter. Looks interesting. I now start going through, like the first time I sucked at it because it looks scary when you're new. But yeah, after a while of continuing going through some of the Google documents, going through YouTube, I started getting the hang of it. And yeah, that's how I found myself really liking Flutter.
Yeah, and I mean, when you were just learning about some of the things, I mean, it's funny that you would like write in the code, not know if it worked. But I mean, it's also a lot of it comes to actually making something and actually trying to
Yeah,
develop something, and then because then you have something in your mind, and then you have to put it on the screen. You have to actually make it work instead
yeah,
of like I guess I know it, you know.
yeah.
How to apply it, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because the other effect also is I have a much deeper understanding of Flutter because I've been working with it. Compared to, say, Pascal, I can't really remember anything other than how you write main, for example, to start with. But I can't remember quite anything because it's a very different approach to learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is a belief or point of view that you hold that is not shared by most other people?
Hmm. Um, I'd say perhaps it is shared in theory, but not in actual practice. Uh, it's better to discover that you're wrong and completely change on core beliefs than to continue trusting on what you already have. Where this applies would be, I'll use an example of the past. It can be, there's a time when it was thought this earth was the center of the universe, right? So I'm imagining being born at that time, you have your science books, you have your parents, you have every authority telling you that the earth is the center of the universe. I think it's still better to go search for the truth and find out that what you've always learned is completely wrong than to just stay with the knowledge that this is how it has always been, this is how it will always be. Because I was taught by my father, who was taught by his father, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, it's also it's just really hard though, because you have to admit to yourself that you've been wrong all this time, and that's a hard thing to face. But
Yeah. And I think one of the things that most people find very difficult is because they tie the identity to what they already know. So if that has been a lie, then my whole life has been a lie. What am I? Example.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what is an example of maybe something, maybe not like a core belief, but something where you thought something and then you kind of had to face up to, I don't think I've been seeing it clearly, uh
Yeah.
and when you kind of had to update.
Yeah. Um, Let me try to think of the most recent and not too technical on a point of view. So yeah. um, yeah, I'd say the approach to learning would be one of them, because you have the traditional point of view where how we see it is go through school, study hard, get a job, live a nice stable life. Then now you come to the actual realization that that may be wrong, partly because if you're not learning by doing, you end up just, for example, let's say just making sure that you can pass an exam. That's what you optimize for. So you can end up having high grades, but you don't really have the skills that the grades are supposed to certify that you have. So considering that I had been doing quite well in school, it was difficult to accept that this has been a wrong approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was less extreme for me because one, I hadn't been in school as long, and
Yeah.
two, we had been doing a lot of that project based approach in my family. But I mean, I did well in school, and I liked that I would get an A, and I knew I
Yeah.
was good, and the teacher was happy with me, and it was kind of like sometimes sometimes when you're doing these things where you can't, there is no perfect score, there's nothing like, you can't even really aim for something that's going to be just like set in stone, because if you're doing something innovative, you need to iterate on your idea. So so sometimes I'm looking for like, where's the A, where's the
Yeah.
thumbs up that I'm doing good. Yeah, I mean, and I think you need to find that in different places. Like, we know that we're doing good because people love our community, because people are like, this is so great. This is what I've been
Yeah.
looking for. And yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that's really powerful, but also something that's really hard to face too, because it's like, I've
Yeah.
been in school for so many years. Now
Yeah.
you're telling me it's wrong. What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can feel free to circle back to anything if you want to share some last thoughts. But how can people get a hold of you if they are interested in what you do?
All right. I think the easiest way to reach me would be through Twitter, because that's at least I check once daily, or on a good day twice. Yeah, but I think we'll be linking the Twitter handle in the YouTube description.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the easiest way. And I do really enjoy most discussions. So feel free to reach out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Okay, thanks so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.